through the front, over here, where it says don't block the door. That's the exit. Bathrooms are out there and to the left. So yes, we are doing something a little bit different today. We will be doing a drawing. I will be giving you a reference, and we'll be going through it. We're going to do a Christmas tree today, essentially, because apparently everybody likes Christmas trees. And then I thought what was a brilliant idea from Nancy Jonas, and unfortunately Nancy's not here to hear me tell her how brilliant this idea was. She said, well, if you're going to do a Christmas theme, why not let's do a little sketching in the wild, but in the actual room, because if you look around, it's all decorated. So we'll go through how do you draw a Christmas tree and how you color it and all that kind of thing, how you make the branches. And then the second part, we're going to turn our chairs around and find something that you like. Everybody can choose whatever they want. You don't have to all choose the same thing. And we're going to try to apply some of the things we've been doing for the last little while. Divide it up into thirds. Make sure you check things and measure against other things. All that kind of stuff. So I thought it was actually a pretty interesting idea. It would be much better if it was next week, but they're going to have all this cleaned up by next week, so we get it while we get it.
Why are they cleaning it up?
Because this Saturday is the house tour. And so this is the sort of the reception area for that. And so that's why it's all decorated. And then they're going to take it all down. So. So, let me go over here. So we're going to make sure that we remember a couple of things, and this is just really quick by way of review. We divide our page into thirds, the rule of thirds. We like it when all of these are the same size, but they don't have to be. We have the little acronym, odds. Analyze, understand, and sketch. So take a little bit of time and analyze what it is you want to draw. Understand it. What shapes do you see? Where's the light coming from? All of that kind of stuff. Come in, Anne, come in. And then, of course, we're going to sketch. That's the last part. Oh, that's what that says. Okay. And that we don't need to know. So this is today's reference. And I will be handing it out in just a moment. But I want you to notice something about this picture. So we just got through talking about the rule of thirds. And I'm looking at this picture. Something's not quite right there. I mean, the teacher didn't put it together properly because nothing's going to fit on that rule of thirds stuff, right? Or is it? Whoop. Now, so part of this was to say, yes, we have lots of pictures that we take, and they don't all fit our rule of thirds idea and how we can get it on. But you can crop your pictures any way you want and have the rule of thirds fall where you want it to fall on your picture. So just because your picture isn't set up the way you want it doesn't mean you can't crop it to the size and the shape that you need it to be. So that's the beginning. That was a pretty cool magic trick, wasn't it? Yeah. Nice. Okay, who clapped? They get an A, whoever it was. All right.
Nancy, he just said you were brilliant and you missed it.
Nancy, there she is. Our good friend Nancy Jonas, who came up with the idea for today. Yeah.
Thank you. Could I have one more for my mom? Because I care so much about her.
Yep.
Thank you.
Oh. At the picture, you will notice that it's got the lines on it for the rule of thirds, which I think are, fairly equal. While we're just waiting here for a second, I do want to reiterate that Nancy came up with this brilliant idea. So we have to make sure we thank Nancy at the end of the day. The whole idea of turning ourselves around and using the room, that was great. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is analyze our picture. So I've helped you by putting in the red lines that show where I think the rule of thirds should go. And based on the picture now that I've modified it, it kind of makes sense. Especially when we're doing something like a tree. Trees tend to be lined. It's a line. Let's use the line that's already there. We don't need to get too fancy. Let's use that line. The other line I put in was the line along the fireplace. There's already a line there. It kind of fits. Let's use what we already have. Let me get my charcoal. And I'm going to put those two lines in on mine. Like so. Now the other ones, I've just chosen convenient spots that I thought would fit, and I kind of did a little bit of measurement there just to kind of make it feel like that's where it should be. So I chose the top of the insert in the fireplace, and then I chose the bottom of the wreath here. Now, just, by way of explanation, because we're going to be doing that in the room, it's always, if you have a choice, choose something that will help you to put the picture on the page. So by putting the line for the thirds on the bottom of this wreath, well, we've kind of placed the wreath. We've kind of placed the wreath there and there to help us get it on the page. If we have a choice, choose something like that if it works out. And again here, the top of the insert in the fireplace, well, we have to put that in. So why don't we just make sure that's one of our lines to help us get it on the page. So you have a choice when we are doing the second part here. Where do we want to put things? Where do we want these things to be? Now, on your page, and you really can't see it unless you look really carefully, but just underneath the this wreath garland thing here, there's a green line. Can you see that? And then if you go up, just at the top of the wreath is another green line. Can you see that?
No.
So this distance is equal to this distance, right? Which is also equal to the top of the tree. So I chose something in the picture as my measuring stick, the thing that I want to measure with so that things feel in proportion. Now, it's not so important with a Christmas tree. The Christmas tree can be taller or shorter. It's just a Christmas tree. But if this was, for example, a building, a couple of buildings, and there was something else going on, maybe a sign, we'd want these things to kind of match. So you look for something in the picture to use as your measurer. So I actually kind of just eyeballed that, and then I actually did measure it afterwards. From there to there, and from there to there, and it's the top of the tree. So we have these things that we can compare and contrast. We've now taken and we've analyzed all the things in the picture that we think we might be able to use. Now we have to understand what's happening. So to help us understand, we're going to put our rule of thirds on the page. Remember, we're going to redefine the size of our page. This is going to be important today. So I want you to make sure you redefine the size of your page by bringing it in a little bit all the way around. And I'll show you why it's important when we get there. So I usually try to put dots, and I keep forgetting that this is so darn tall that I'm not able to tell whether I'm straight or not. So I try to put dots, and then when I'm drawing my line, I aim for the dot. So it gives me some place to go. And you don't have to go fast. Take your time, and as you're moving your pencil, try to keep in mind, oops, I didn't really look at the dot. Try to look at the dot, the direction that you're going. This one looks a little bit lower, so I'm just going to go a little bit higher there. Okay, so I made mine kind of a long, skinny rectangle. Doesn't have to be. You do what you feel is best. Then our rule of thirds. So we divide by 3 and kind of put in some dots or some lines to kind of, balance yourself out. Same idea, gives you something to aim for. And then the same thing on the sides. So we've now understood our page in relationship to our reference. We've got some ideas about where things are and where they should be. I do want to say that we're going to go, well, about a quarter of the way above this line, so maybe about there, for our top of our mantle. And then that measurement, I don't think I have anything long enough here. Nope. Maybe I'll just put this in there. Oh, that's just about it. Look at that. And then I'm going to use that same measurement up here. And remember what I said, that's the top of the wreath, but it's also the top of the tree. And the tree is right on this line. I think I got a little high on that one, but we're close. So just take a second and think about all that I've just said and look at the reference and look at the lines and think about where we're going from here. Okay, that's long enough. We've now kind of understood what we're going to do, but we have to put some of the shapes in now. So the big shape that's in there is that big triangle. So the big triangle starts here, and it comes all the way down to about the middle down here, and about the middle over here. So we're going to make that triangle. Now, as we're drawing this triangle, don't worry about making it a straight line. In fact, try not to make it a straight line. Try to make it bumpy and wavy, because that's going to be the outline of the tree. And remember, you're aiming for those spots. And it kind of goes across here. I'm just going to try to put a light line there just to help us define that, but we don't actually see that line because there's some boxes in front of it. Then over here, we've got that mantle. Well, we said that this was the bottom, sorry, the top of the mantle, but the bottom of where the, what is it? Yeah, where the green line is. But what are those things called on top? Garland or, yeah, thank you, sorry. This is the insert, and it comes down Now, I know some of you will notice that it's on a bit of an angle. This whole picture was kind of turned a little bit. We're just going to ignore that. We're just going to let it go straight here on the bottom. And then that's coming down. Take that out of there. Oh. Yeah. Okay. So we have a couple of the big things in there. Now let's go up to the wreath. We put this line in purposely because it's the bottom of the inner circle. So just a little bit below that, and also over to here. Let's go about the middle, in between where that high mark is and there, and maybe down a little bit here. So it's going to come kind of like this and come around, and oh, we've run out of space. Wait, no, we haven't. We redefined our page. We can bring this wreath all the way around now. And we can put this circle, it's a little wonky looking circle, in the middle. So we're able to stretch the actual thing we want to put in there a little bit over top of the space that we've already used. So now we've got some big ideas going on here. Lots of them. The only other thing that I might put in before we start doing anything else are the boxes at the bottom. Now, this taller one here is turned a little bit so that you can see a 3/4. I'll show you how to do that if you want to, but really, we're just working on straight on. So we can just put in rectangles and squares if you want. So keep in mind that the bottom of the fireplace is also kind of where the floor is. So we have the maroon looking box there. We have a shorter looking box here. And then quite a big one here. And you can kind of see, a little bit of the top of it. So I'm going to do that, just put a rectangle in. If I want it to look a little 3D, I'm going to angle this down a little bit and this up a little bit and join those together. Whoop. Now I'm making a mess of it. And then we're going to decorate those. Now there are a couple of other ones. We can put in as many as we want. We have the big idea of what this picture is. All the big things are on there now. Now comes the tough part. What does the branch of a Christmas tree look like? What does it feel like? This is getting into a little bit of what we talked about in the atelier. I want you to really think about the feeling of a pine tree or a spruce tree. I don't know what this is. Is it a pine? Maybe. And what those needles feel like and how they're arranged on the page like that, because that's what we're going to try to replicate. Now, I do this a lot in the trees that I do, and what I find works really nicely, I'm going to try to do this really big so you can see what I'm doing. We have branches coming out, and on the branches are needles. So we're going to put the needles on. And then there's another branch maybe going this way. And we're going to put the needles, whoops, hold still here. Put the needles on. And maybe another one like right here. If we look at our reference, we'll see that there are areas where the needles come out and kind of bounce on a line. So if I start at the very top of my tree, I'm going to put a branch with some lines on it like so, and then I'm going to have this branch coming out this way, and this one coming out this way. And let's put a little bit longer one here, and maybe a little smaller one coming this way. Now the key to this whole thing, besides putting the branches on, is to put the dark areas in. So when I get over there, I'll show you what I mean further. But once you have a few of these branches in and down, and you're kind of looking at the reference, and where do I see that? It kind of is going like this, and it's kind of going like this. You're going to put dark areas in here. So as you keep going, because the light is not going back into the middle of the tree, our tree will start to fill out, and it will start to look like a Christmas tree. So let's come over here. I think I can do it with this one. And we're going to do the same thing, but a little smaller. So, and then have your branches come out. And make sure you put your dark areas underneath them, leaving some of the white space. Don't worry about it, it won't be white, because we're going to come back and put some of the darker green in the dark spaces and the white spaces as well. This is the whole technique for this drawing. And this is incredibly time consuming. It's not incredibly time consuming, I'm lying. Yes?
Not jumping the gun, but we use branches coming towards us.
Yes. The same way.
Same way?
Yep. So if the branch is coming out, well, you can't really have it coming straight towards you because you can't really see it. But what you can do is you can just put some lines in. And then have this one go to the side. This one maybe come down a little bit. And don't forget, you want to fill in some of that white space all around it. And of course, we want to eat up our line that's around the edge that we used as our definition. Now, I say it's really time consuming. I actually timed myself doing mine. And it took me about 15 or 20 minutes to do the whole thing. So I went through and did exactly that with my tree, my wreath, and the one on top of the fireplace. So it takes time, and it takes dedication. This is what they look like. So what I'd like you to do, going through, and you'll notice as you look at this, there are some darker areas, there are some lighter areas. What we're drawing with our squiggles are the lighter areas. The darker areas, we're just kind of filling in. So in here and in here. That pushes that part of the tree back and lets the lighter areas come forward. Yes?
All right, we're going to be doing the tree with pencil.
With pencil.
And then painting it later?
Yes. Good point. Yes, we're going to use pencil. Go ahead.
Do all the lines come from the center out?
They don't have to. At the top, yes, you want them to come from the center out. As you get further down, they can just kind of be lines and, yeah. And if it helps, give yourself some spaces where you want the branches to go so that you actually put branches there and around there and then put the darkness in behind it. Okay? I'm going to keep working and probably talking to myself up here. You guys go ahead and keep doing your part while I talk to Larry. The reference exactly. Remember that. You want to get the idea. You want to get the impression. And you also want to get the texture of the reference. It's sharp and pointy. So we want to make sure these become sharp and pointy. And if you just want them to go side by side, that's okay too. Keep in mind that you want it to be pretty random.
What pencil should we be using?
Pardon?
What pencil should we be using?
HB. Yeah. Or with your mechanical pencil, that's also an HB.
I left my reading glasses home.
Oh.
It's been an interesting day.
So you can see here, I've left a whole bunch of white space around what I've done, and it doesn't look really very good. But once I put in some darkness, and really I'm just kind of filling that in, it starts to look a little bit more like a tree. And I think, yeah, oh, yep,
We're using pencil and then we like to draw the lines.
Yep.
Then we're using the pencil shaded in. Should we still be able to see the lines where we shaded? You know, like they're all the same.
the darkness part,
The dark.
yeah, not really.
No.
No, we want that to be what's behind what's in front. So some of them you will see, but
Mostly
mostly
you just want it dark.
you just want it dark because we're going into the tree. There's no light going in there. So I think it's my last article that I just wrote, and I talk about the petulant teenager. Your tree will look a bit like a petulant teenager for a bit. But we all know that being former teenagers ourselves, we grow up, we become wonderful, nice people, and so will your tree.
My tree looks like it needs a diet.
exactly like that.
Good point. So we're not making the lines that we made darker. We're putting in like a dark blob in behind that. And we're leaving some of what we've drawn with the lines in front. So yeah, you're not making those lines darker. You're making a dark space. So I'm just kind of putting in dark bits all the way through mine. Up those lines that are in there and are defining the edge as well. We don't need an edge anymore. We just needed to know where to put the branches. Okay, where did you guys think you were coming today?
I'm old and forgetful, don't worry about it.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah.
She uses that card a lot. We are in that card, right? No.
Maybe like once a week I'll just go over and grab a few and just kind of have them
I
here.
don't think they'd be happy with that. You better volunteer.
I'll volunteer and then just stick a few in my pocket.
There you go.
Need a cheater's budget. A little bit of a difficult time getting all of this down. But I invite you to come up and try doing it on the board where you got to hold your arm up. It's killing me up here. I didn't think this was going to be this hard. Darn you, Nancy, and your ideas. We're going to go over the rest of the details because there's still the mantle that we want to put in the fire. But if you want to take a stab at that, by all means. I just sprayed some fixative on there. We were having a conversation, Jenny and I, earlier about fixative, and it occurred to me that charcoal is a lot messier than pencil, and maybe if I fix it before I put the paint on it, maybe we'll get a much better thing at the end. Well, you're just messy to begin with. That's. Do not buy fixative on Amazon. Buy this. This is the kind that I like, and I've been using it for a long time. It's Winsor Newton. And you want the final fixative. You don't want the workable fixative. Workable fixative will hold things in place, and you can go in and work the pencil or whatever it is that you're using, the graphite. But it also becomes very sticky. And I personally don't like that. So I only spray right at the very end. The above ground art supplies in Toronto, which is the one behind the Art Gallery of Ontario, They're online. They sell, so Amazon sells this same size for $38. The above ground sells it for 16. And if you, you know, you don't have to order a whole lot. I think it's like $20. You get free shipping. So order something else and you get free shipping with it. I think their whole, pardon?
Is that well Canadian Canada Post people are working, or is that?
Yeah.
The back working.
Do you want to take a picture?
Yeah.
Art suppliers, I would recommend them and Gwartzman, although Gwartzman doesn't do a whole lot of shipping.
Then you put it in, right?
End of everything. Don't put it in the middle unless you're trying to experiment like this, where we're trying to fix the charcoal. Yeah, I'll put it over here. You guys can take a picture of the can so you can make sure you get the right one. All kind of at the right spot now. We're going to put in a few more details. So I've already started. I put another line in for my mantle and a couple of boxes in here. If you're looking at your reference, you can kind of see that little detail in there. And then down here, we're just going to give it a little bit of space because that's the insert that's in there. And add a couple of lines, kind of dress it up a little bit. But in here is now the fire. So we're just going to kind of make a fire looking space like that, just something simple. And you'll notice, again, we have space here. If you want to take out the lines that you put in to define your extra space and kind of sketch in, okay, well, there's the fireplace and there's the insert shape. You can kind of make it bigger here and finish it off a little bit. And that's the beauty of saving that little bit of the paper. We weren't quite sure. Oh, my lines are pretty crooked here. We weren't quite sure what we were going to do with that. Well, now that's the perfect thing to add in some extra details. Also, you can see that it's pretty barren underneath my tree. Put in some more Christmas presents and have them all be different sizes and shapes and all that kind of stuff. And some of these have ribbons that go around them. So kind of just put a double line in there. Kind of make it look like something's happening. And you don't need to fill in the whole space because that's in shadow as well. So we're going to put some purple in there just to shadow that up a little bit. All right, so I think you can probably guess what my first step is going to be. It's going to be a wash, and it's going to be a light green wash. We start with our lightest color because we want to put the dark in to go back. So we start with our lightest green, and we're going to put it in over all of this, but there's just a tiny little technique that I want you to try. Let me get a light green here. A little bit of pigment and a lot of water for a wash. Which reminds me, before you start, I think I have some here now that I think of it, you need some paper towel. Oh, here it is. So take your wash, and when you put it in, think of what you're putting in. You're putting in the end of a branch. So we're not going to paint over the whole thing like this. We're going to put in individual branches like that. So it's going to kind of look like this, and we're going to dab the paint on. We don't want to fill in completely. We just want to get some color on there. Hey, I think that wash idea is working. But you can see that I'm kind of poking the color onto it. I'm not putting it on really, really darkly. And the key is you want to be really thinking about the shape that you're putting on there and not just putting color on. So by dabbing it on, you're giving it almost a branchy look. And it almost feels branchy when you're doing it. So if you get it covered completely with your wash, now I had different ones at home, so I got to check here. You do have a darker one. Yeah, you have a lighter one and a darker one. So once you've got that, the wash on, go directly to the darker green, but this time only just wet your brush enough to kind of get some water on it and put it on almost directly from the palette. And we're aiming for the darker spots now, the spots that you designated as darker spots. And by the way, don't be too concerned that you think maybe it's a little too dark. A lot of times you'll find that the watercolors dry a little bit lighter. So I'm really just aiming for the dark spots right now. And maybe some of the lighter spots in between, just to kind of help me get that idea.
Straight dark green, no purple or blue. Straight green, no purple or blue in it.
No, we're just going to do straight green, yep. Because we're going to add the purple and blue as we go. Good point.
Should we do the wreath as well?
Pardon?
Should we use the wash on the wreath as well?
The second one?
The first one.
The first one is a wash.
On the wreath too.
Oh yes, on everything that's green. So the wreath and above the mantle. Minutes to go through. We did get a good question about other colors. So the first day, we talked a little bit about the color wheel. And I told you that the complementary color, the color that is across from that color on the color wheel, will help to define the shadows. So we're using green. The color that's the complementary color across the color wheel is red. If you put red in there, that will give you a nice dark shadow. However, if you're not feeling confident about red, add some purple, add some blue. I find that pine trees, as just the pine tree part, are not typically all green when you look at them. There are shades of purple, there are shades of blue. Don't put too much in to start. Put a little bit in, see what you like, and then we'll move on from there. But take your time with it. We're not looking at the presents yet, or the mantle, or even the background. We're just doing this part. gets that light wash of green. So you've got a base to start from.
Finish the tree.
Little bit of red here.
Are you putting it just anywhere?
Hmm?
Are you putting the red just anywhere?
Putting the red just anywhere? Red, you're just putting it anywhere?
I'm putting it in the areas that I want to have a shadow. So I might put it underneath the front of a branch. I might put it in the center where the darkest darks are. It's actually interesting to do this while the page is still wet, because it'll take on its own, it'll go where it wants to go, which might not necessarily be where you want it to go, but it actually turns out looking pretty cool.
Here, or did you bring it out further to the, with the purple? Bring it out to the sides of the tree or more keep it concentrated?
I would like to keep it more in the center because that's where most of the shadows are. If you see shadows though on the edges, which of course there are, yeah, go ahead. Yeah. How do we put those lights on?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't do it now. We have to wait for everything to dry. If you try to put it on now, it's just going to get muddy looking.
So you put the dark green on top of the light green, right?
Yes.
You don't let it dry?
Yep. So once this is all dry, we'll go through with our yellow, or if you have a white marker, which I carry with me, I can put that on top. But it has to be dry. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. I'm going to give you guys, well, I'm going to give you as much time as you want. But I'm going to suggest we work for about another 4.5 minutes. And what I want you to do, though, is have a look at some of the other areas. So this area up here, on my sketch, I put in as kind of a washy brown. I put purple around the fireplace. And then I put my reds and my yellows, and there's some blue in there in the fire. I gave each present a different color. And as you know, I don't like white on my page. Turn it the other way. I don't like white on my page. So I did a washy yellow for the background to give that some kind of color to it. If we leave it white, it tends to flatten everything. And, you know, we spent this much time building this tree. We don't want the whole thing to look flat. So I chose yellow. You can choose whatever color you want. The room, I think, is kind of it's got a blue, kind of maybe a gray look to it. The lower part here, I mean, because of all the candles, I think is a little yellow. But choose what you want, but do it lightly. You don't want that to be the focus. Remember, we want our rock star to be that Christmas tree.
So the front area is yellow. But the east.
Been more than an hour. I know it doesn't feel like it. So I want you to get up, no matter where you are, stand up, move your legs a little bit, walk back and forth, maybe look at some other people's things if they leave it out. If you don't, you're going to be stuck here all night. I know it. It's happened before.
I know, I was not ready yet, but so the green is just we dab.
Yep. Yep. And remember, you're thinking, what's a branch look like as you're dabbing that in? a huge project. I mean, I'm looking over here and seeing the wreath and the sort of garland at the bottom of the window. That might make a nice composition. There are the big trees at the back. You don't have to draw all of them. Maybe draw one, like where I'm standing here. I see one, and then I see a wreath on the wall behind it. That might make a nice composition. Look around the room. These ones in these windows, very balanced compositions, but at least it would be a practice for us to practice in the wild. How do we do that? Okay? So if you would like, take your sketchbook. Just take your sketchbook and a pencil. Don't take your whole kit with you. It might be a little bulky. And there are some tables over there. And you can do what Sandra's doing and take pictures and take them home with you. Try that as well.
Sorry.
Say that again?
Most cameras, cell phone cameras have the rule of thirds.
Oh, they do. They have the grid in it. Yeah. But I think they probably would have to take how to take good pictures course, wouldn't they, to know that? Yeah, they probably might. And they should look here, in the new year, because we will have somebody teaching that.
Like mine has a grid right now. Not that I believe in the rule of thirds, but
We're practicing sketching in the wild. Don't everybody all of a sudden take an interest in your shoes. We're like, give it a try. I'm going to take my sketchbook, which looks surprisingly like a big easel with some paper on it, over here. And I'm going to look at this little composition here. So I'm going to put my line, redefining the size of my page, as I look at this, I want that tree to be here, right on the line. I want that wreath to be on this line. I want these things to balance. So I'm going to say that the tree is up here. This is down a little bit, maybe here. The tree comes out. Oop. And then the wreath is here. What else do we have? Looks like we have some white stuff on the ground here. The boards go in. And then this door, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with that, but we'll do something like this. There's 3, right? Or 4? And now I'm going to start doing my tree and my wreath, putting in all my extra little lines, adding the dark spaces. So you go from the big idea, the rule of thirds, analyze what you're doing, which I was doing the whole time I was up at the front, so I skipped that part, at least it looks like I did. Then I'm going to understand, so put in the shapes, the triangle, the circle. I have the floor going in. A real trick about putting floor in is that when you're looking at it straight, the floor goes in straight. To make it look like floor, put it on an angle at the sides after that. And it looks like you're going into your picture. And then this, I just put the square behind it and added the 3 panels. And I'm ready now to start adding detail. So that's how quick it can be. It doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out process. You guys are practicing, and that's why you're taking your time with it and you're getting all the ideas. As you get more and more used to it, you will get quicker and quicker. Okay? And then kind of move on from there. You're going to make mistakes and it's not going to work out every time, but that's part of what we're doing. So that's an excellent question. Yes, once it's dry, I would suggest you go in and put some of your fine line marker to define where those branches are, to define the around the fireplace and the fire and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
We finished this on our own and we'll have another project next week.
Next week?
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, but we do finish this